Hello, hello. It is Mass Make March. The wonderful Cori has the collaboration going again this year. Now I'm going to do some kind of assemblage work today. I'm going to do some mini mass makes. And once I've done the mini mass makes, I'm going to put things together in different ways to show you how we can make several types of embellishments, just having made some little bits and pieces. So I've got some burlap, I've got a little strip of fabric and a little piece of other fabric. I've got some card, I've got some book pages. I've already started to cut a few little things out here, but let's just get started. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I am taking my little cream fabric and I'm just making some strips. I'm not worried too much about size. I'm going to vary them, just make some little cuts in my fabric and then just rip those apart, and they'll go on my little fabric pile here. And this is going to be hopefully super quick to kind of put these elements together. And I'm going to do the same with some of this green fabric. I'm just going to make some slits. And this is just about, what I'm trying to get across here is just pull some elements out and see where it takes you. Don't get bogged down with what your end result is going to be. Ooh, I'm throwing them everywhere. Okay, so as you can see, I've already started a bit of this. So I'm going to cut a couple of little strips of burlap, and then I'm going to make some into kind of little squares. So I've got some bits there. I've got this fabulous, I'm really hoarding this now because I'm getting a bit low, this fabulous multicolored stuff that I got. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. It's not a sari, it's a cotton. This comes from the fabulous Kerry Fellows at Witchcraft You Do, and that's just multicolored. So I'm like I said, I'm hoarding that a little bit, but I've just cut out a few little bits. Now you'll notice I've got a few little strips of lace, and I've also got some tiny tags. Now these tiny tags come like this from Amazon. You get, oh, I don't know, I think it was like a couple of hundred for about £5. I've had these, it feels like a million years because they just don't seem to go. I seem to use them and still have them. They are lasting me a very long time. I have these little tiny squares of denim, and one day when I was sitting on the sofa I just cut different sizes and shapes out, and I've just grabbed some little squares there. That's from an old pair of jeans from a charity shop. Use these bits to make little makes. So ready for assemblage. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little tags. Now I have a few tiny little stamps. You don't have to use a tiny stamp. You could use a bigger stamp and just stamp part of it. I don't have many. I don't use these very often, which is why I'm kind of determined to use them. So we've got a leaf here. Let's just stamp that. So we've got a leaf. Let's do another leaf. Now if you were putting these onto a journal, you could always number the other side. So we've got a couple of leaves. Got some stars here. Well, that was stupid, wasn't it? Let's do a couple with stars. Make sure you use the right end of your stamp. Put them in upside down. Done it again. We've got, I've got 3 of these little tags left. So I'll do a dragonfly and another dragonfly. And lastly, I'll do this little flower. Just little tags. And now what I want to do is make some little layered pieces. So I'm going to take a piece of that, and I'm going to take a piece of that, and I'm going to make a little pile of these, and then I'm going to take them over to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew them just to keep them together. And I'll have a cream one, and let's do a bigger one with a piece of green. So I've got some little piles. I'm now going to go and sew these. So I now have all of these little tiny pieces. So this is my mini mass make. We've got our little tags that we've stamped. That's a mini make. And now we have all of these little fabric strips, clusters, whatever you want to call them, just with one little piece of stitching on. So we have those. The next thing I want to do is make some little tags. So let's put those away. I'm going to grab some card and I'm going to grab my little tag punch. Now, if you don't have a tag punch, you can ruler and your craft knife. I'm just using my board here, and you can cut, I think, what would this be, 3 centimeters, which is just over maybe 1.25 inches, 3 centimeters. Just cut some little tags, and I'm going to just do that very, very simply, just to show you what you can do if you don't have a punch. Put that aside, and let's make these 4 centimeters long. Just again using my board. You can use a trimmer if you want. I'd say 3 centimeters by 4 centimeters is a good size. I'm just going to do a couple there to show you. We've got 3, let's say. And then I would take my scissors and cut a little corner off each of those, and you can make a little template if you want to make sure they are identical, but you can make little tags if you don't have a punch. I'm going to use my punch and I'm going to cut a load out. I now have I have a nice pile of tags now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these fabulous book pages. I am going to grab this. I'm going to take my tear ruler. You could use any ruler. And the reason being is we're actually going to make another little make with the edges of these pages. So I'm just going to take off these nice long straight edges. And I'm using my tear ruler just to give them a nice uneven finish. Obviously you can skip this part if you don't have a book with this kind of border around the pages. I'll do that to all of my pages, and then I'm going to take my punch and I'm going to punch some words, and I'm doing these sideways. I think that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to use this page now. So now I have a fair amount of book page tag shapes as well. The next thing I want to do is some of the extra cardstock we have. I'm going to take my 1-inch punch and I'm going to punch out some circles just to use up this. So I now have some circles and some book page circles. What I want to do now is glue the book page circles to these. I don't have too many of these, but we have some circles backed with book page, and we can make more. Is back my little tags. Now some of them I might back single and some of them I might back double-sided, so there could be a book page on both sides of my little tag. Pop a little piece, grab a piece of the book page and add that to the tag. We've got a few here. These are all double-sided. Another little mini make that are ready to go. So I want to come back now to, I've got a piece of cardstock here. So I've got 2 round stamps that are possibilities. I'm just grabbing a couple of round stamps. You don't have to grab round stamps, and I'll show you what else you can do if you don't have a round stamp. So what you could do is just take your already cut circle. Let's just use that to stamp over. Let's say you only have a text stamp, for example. This could be any stamp. It doesn't have to be the stamp I'm using here, but you could stamp and you've still got a decorated circle piece. Now, I am not 100% sure. Right, so what I'm going to do is, let's just make sure this fits. I'm going to use that. Perfect. Let's start with this one, I think. I'm going to just get my ink and I'm going to stamp some circles. Let's do 4 of those. Actually, let's do another couple. Like that. I'm going to grab my blue ink. Got that. Now I'm going to take my circle punch and cut out all of these. I'm going to cut some more of these and ink them. Okay, so I've made a few more, a little bit different. So we've got 3 different little circle embellishments here. Okay, I think I'm going to probably just make a few more of these and ink them. And right, so they are all inked. They are inked. I actually had a thought of a much easier, better way we could make those in bulk. So I'm going to show you what I was thinking. I'm going to grab a piece of my cardstock. These are all scrap pieces. So I'm going to grab my glue stick and glue along the text here. Trying to, ooh, that's quite a lot of glue there. And then just going to line this up with the text. So let's burnish that down. Ooh, ooh, that's quite cool. That's fine. We can cover that up with something else. Maybe this won't work. Let's tear this off. I'm going to come to the edge of that text and tear the rest of that off, and the same at this end. Now I'm just going to trim this cardstock because obviously it's not covered. Right. Now I've got another piece of the paper. I'm just going to do the same again. So this, for those of you that always ask, this is the jumbo Prit, but it's actually not available anymore. I'm just going to line that up again with the text, burnish that down, and just hope I've got the text lined up on the other side. Right, now I probably want to give this a little bit of time to dry, but now I should be able to just cut directly out. Yes, that method will absolutely work, but you do need this to be dry before you start cutting it out. So I'll just put that aside for later. Thinking as you're working how you could make something actually a lot quicker. So we've got these and we've got these. We've got our little tags and we've got our little stitched bits. And let's see what we can put together with these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little hole punch. And I'm going to take one of my little tags. I'm going to line that up, punch a hole. And we're going to go for something super easy for this first one. I'm going to grab one of our little printed tags. I'm just going to cut the knot off and to just thread this through that tag. line up my string again, and I'm going to tie that in a knot. And there we've got a little embellishment. We could do more to that. Let's do a second one like that, and we'll see how we can take that a little bit further. So I'm going to put my hole in, grab my little tiny hanging tag. I'm going to take one of my little discs. I'm going to glue a book page disc to the back of that, like so. Let's put a hole in this one. So now we'll do a little bit of a layer. So we'll put that, then that, and then tie a little knot. So now we have a little layered piece. So let's do one more, but this time I'm going to punch my hole. I'm going to take one of my little pieces of fabric embellishments. Just have a little look at what I've got here. What colour would go? That's a bit plain. I'm going to go for that. So I'm going to add glue to the little tag. Glue that into place. I'm going to do it at a little angle, a little jaunty angle there. Now I'm going to again take one of my tiny little tags, take that off, that through. Tie that off. So just with those bits, we have, you know, 3 embellishments here. Very simple, easy to apply to our journals. And let's do something else. I'm going to grab my garment pins now. I'm going to take one of my little tags, pop a little hole in that, grab one of our, let's go grab one of our discs. I'm going to back that with one of our book page covered ones. Put a little hole in. I'm going to grab a garment pin this time. Go through the little piece and then through the fabric piece. And then through a tag. Do that up. And now we have another little embellishment. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm not sure. Let's see what else we can do. And that's another very simple little embellishment. I think I'm going to add a little bit of glue here. Put that down. Grab a little feather. Just do garment pin, put our little feather on, and then the little disc, then the tag, and we have another little embellishment. So you can see the principle of this. I'm going to take one of my little tags. I'm going to cut the string off this one completely, remove that, go a garment pin again, that straight through the fabric, and that's another little embellishment. So this one we have a little acorn. This one I'd like to add something a little bit bigger, a little dream catcher here. So I'm going to take my pin, pop a little dream catcher onto the pin and straight onto that fabric embellishment. Okay, so this time I'm going to add my hole to my little tag and put a garment pin in there. I'm going to take a piece with the fabric. Let's go for a piece of green. I'm going to add that. I have these teeny tiny butterflies that are from Which Craft Do You Do? Just use my little Cori dauber here. Little makeup sponge just to ink the edges of that, and I'm going to glue this onto my fabric, and I'll probably do a couple of these and then add some Nouveau crystal glaze to that. So we have that one. What I wanted to quickly do is show you what I'm going to do, or what I will be doing with some of this stuff. Now, some of it I'm going to kind of concertina, probably put a little stitch in. I'm going to run a little stitch down there. I'll do another one as well. So I'm just going to stitch these and be back. Yeah, I think Cori's mentioned, she mentioned last year, the mass make doesn't have to necessarily be mass making the same thing, but it could be using the same materials to make something. So now we just have these, just from those book edges, fabulous little strips, and I've got loads more here, so I will have a lot more of those. So I'm going to carry on and I'll come back and show you what I end up with. It's the next day. It's the next day. I actually spent quite a lot of time completing these, and then it was a bit too late to film the end. I made a few little odd things last night, just using a little bit of scraps while I was sitting on the sofa, stitched a button to them. I didn't do too many of these, but they've got the burlap and the denim. The only thing I added was the button and a little piece of sari silk. So we've got a few of those. I also started to hand sew a couple of little clusters, but I only got as far as 3 and didn't do any more of those. These little ones at the front here I did right at the very end, when I just had some denim and some burlap and some of the little discs left, and I've just put a quick row of stitch in all of those, so we got quite a few of those. These ones were also fairly close to the end, when I was kind of running out. I'd run out of the tags, but these are just a piece of denim burlap and then one of the discs, or a combination. So we've got a few like that. We've got the little butterfly ones, where we've got the fabric, and then the little tiny butterfly, which I've just added a little bit of crystal glaze to that. So we've got the ones with the charms. We have some very simple ones with just a tiny tag layered. We've got a few where there's a tag, the little fabric scrap, and then a little disc on. There's quite a few of those. This one was literally just 2 fabric scraps, a little disc, and then I've put a little bell on the garment pin there. So that was pretty much everything. Right at the very end, I had 3 of the little discs left, just 3. So I put those on one of the little strips of paper, and I ended up with quite a bunch of those, and I still have a few that I could sew. But I think this was really successful. So just thinking small, making little makes, little elements, and then seeing how I could put those together worked really well. And I would say this is probably about 3 hours-ish of work, which is not bad. There's a lot of things here. These could go on to, they could go onto envelope flaps, as they could become closures. They could go onto tags on the corner of book pages. You could add them as embellishments onto pockets. They really have got so many uses. The little tags can go into tiny pockets. You can add them and hang them on other tags. So there's a lot of things you can do with these. I hope you understood the concept that I was going for by mini making and then mass making from those mini makes. I hope you'll give it a try. This was pretty much all scrap. The book pages, obviously I used a punch, but you don't have to. It would have been a lot quicker if I'd have covered my card with the book page rather than cut them out and glue them all together. It was much quicker to glue the paper to the card and then use my punch, or if you were using a trimmer you could do it that way. But yeah, I will be back Tuesday with another video, and thanks for joining me. See you soon. Bye.